And I'm going to read about him, and we're going to go straight into the talk because he has a lot to share, a lot of information, and I'm ready to learn also because there's some stuff that I've been reading and learning about that he's going to share, and I'm excited about it. So let's go straight into it. Our guest, that didn't work. I'm just going to read because I can't get your picture up. I like your picture. It's a nice picture.
Thank you.
So our guest, Harold Leffall, is a father, a cancer survivor, and healthy lifestyle influencer and entrepreneur. Harold owned his own full-service staffing firm that was called Leffall Employment Agency, which was named one of the top 25 permanent placement services by the San Francisco Business Times, with a gross annual revenue reaching close to 4 million in annual sales. And he later became the CEO of a startup social enterprise in Atlanta that today has gross revenue exceeding 40 million annually. And he has been featured on Good Day Charlotte, Good Morning Chattanooga, Black Enterprise, Best Self Atlanta, and Entrepreneur Magazine. He has authored 4 books so far: Brother CEO, Living from Within, I Am Enough, and Juicing 101. He's the founder and CEO of Good Living Now, a health supplement company based in Charlotte, North Carolina. So, welcome, Harold. Welcome. I'm happy that you agreed to come and talk to the people.
Well, thank you for inviting me, Delianne. I really appreciate it.
Sure, sure. And so I have to tell you guys, I have not met him personally. I've just seen a lot of his posts on different vegan groups, and you're always sharing good information. You have such a good smile, good energy, not putting people down, like seeing you experimenting with juicing.
Trying
And
to
I said,
figure
you know
stuff out.
what? He has to know something. And I like your
Experimenting,
shirt.
trying to figure.
Show us your shirt. Show us your
Oh, it's
sweater.
I am enough.
I am enough because you always wear those.
Right, right, right.
and
'Cause
and I like that message. And so I decided to ask him if he would come on, and he said yes. So here we are. So let's jump right in. Just tell us your story. How did you go from the employment firm to lifestyle coaching? What happened in between there?
well, so I started my first business when I was 29, which was, gosh,
Okay.
I'm 53 now. So that was,
53.
yeah, so that was like, oh gosh, that was like over 20 some odd years ago.
Okay.
And I started it because as a kid, I always had a dream of owning my own business. You know, I grew up in what folks call the hood in Oakland. And so I grew up in the projects, and there, every apartment we had, I would make my closet into an office as a kid and pretend like I was a businessman. And so that was always a dream of mine. And so when I was 29, I took a leap of faith and started a staffing agency. Had no idea what I was doing, just had a dream, just had a vision, no money, no contacts, and everybody told me I was crazy. And I started the business. And 6 months after I started the business, I took out a $25,000 loan on my house. And 6 months after that, the $25,000 was gone, as well as my house went into foreclosure, my car was repossessed, and I filed bankruptcy. And I wanted to quit. But when you have a dream or vision inside, even though you might want to quit, it's hard to let it go when it's a real dream or a real vision. And so I just couldn't let it go. And I knew that it was some things that I needed to do differently. And part of that was working on myself and my own negative self-talk. Because although I had taken the leap of faith and started this business, I still had a lot of doubt and fear around success. But 8 months after I lost everything and filed bankruptcy, I ended up getting a huge contract. I ended up getting a contract that was for $3 million over 3 years. And that really turned everything around for me. And so that's how the business started, that first business.
Nice, nice. And so you were then, you had good business going. Then you moved to Atlanta?
So I moved to Atlanta. Actually, I moved first to Las Vegas for a year. Um, and I moved to Las Vegas after selling my business, moved to Las Vegas really to move my mom to Las Vegas because at the time the doctors had misdiagnosed my mom with depression.
Okay.
Well, and they had misdiagnosed her for like 3 years. Well, it turns out she was not going through depression. She was having many strokes. And the symptoms looked like that of depression because she didn't have any physical symptoms. It was all emotional. She had been having these many strokes. And so I moved my mom to Las Vegas to be closer to her brother. She had two brothers in Las Vegas. So moved her there. And then 6 weeks after we moved there, my mom had a massive stroke and passed.
Oh.
And I'm a mama's boy. Everything that I did, every accomplishment that I ever made was to make my mom proud. And so after my mom passed, I was just kind of lost, trying to figure things out, not really knowing what to do because, my mom was my why, and when you don't have a why, it's very difficult to gain momentum and to move forward. And so I ended up moving to Atlanta back in 2004. Yeah, 2004.
2004. Okay.
Mhm.
And so you found a new why right away, or what happened?
No, to be honest with you, I was depressed for probably about 10 years and I didn't realize it. So I moved to Atlanta really trying to figure out what was what and really trying to be motivated to do something with my life. It's funny, I'm a single dad, and at the time my son was like in first grade. And you know how they asked the kids, what do your parents do for a living? So they asked my son, like, what does your dad do for a living? He said, well, my dad just drives me around. And it was at that point I realized I needed to really do something with my life because my son's idea of his dad was that his dad just drove him around. And so, right. And so I started trying to figure out, what to do next, what was next for me. But for 10 years, it was hit or miss. Nothing was really connecting. Nothing was really happening for me. And it was while I was in Atlanta, fast forward to 2015, that's when I was diagnosed with cancer. And what I realized that during that 10-year period when I was depressed, I was under a lot of stress, under a lot of financial stress, a lot of stress raising my son, and just trying to figure out what to do with my life. And for me, I just had this feeling of not feeling like I was enough, feeling inadequate, feeling like an imposter because here I had all this success in business when I was in Oakland, but wasn't able to figure out how to duplicate it until later on when I was in Atlanta. I started the startup company that's now worth worth over 40 million. I don't know what they're at now, but so in 2015, I got the news that I had prostate cancer, which really surprised me because I thought I was doing all the right things. I exercised, I wasn't overweight. I thought I ate healthy, but after I was diagnosed with cancer, I started doing research and realized that I really wasn't because I continued to eat all the stuff that I grew up on, a lot of animal protein, sugar, and dairy, which all are attributing factors to cancer.
So what was your definition of healthy? Then you said, sugar, animal protein. What were you eating that you thought was good?
Look, so I thought just because I didn't eat pork that made me healthy. That was my mindset. I didn't eat pork, that meant I was healthy.
Right.
And I would, juice from time to time, but nothing really consistent. And And I realized that, most of what I was consuming was stuff that really attributed to disease and illness. And for
Mhm.
me, it resulted in prostate cancer.
In prostate, right? So you and the emotional toll that what you are going through between the emotional and the diet, yeah, that
That
can definitely,
combination, yeah, that's a
yeah.
perfect combination for any
Mhm.
kind of disease and illness. When you have stress and you have a poor diet, that is the recipe for all kind of disease. And we hear it oftentimes, people say stress kills, but it really does, because it weakens our immune system, and it makes
Right,
us susceptible to all kind of disease and illness. and and, and I have to say, it was so interesting how I discovered that I had prostate cancer, because
right. Tell us
typically,
about that.
typically, your doctor will not recommend that you be tested until you're 50.
Hmm.
So I had just gone for a routine doctor's appointment, and I was 48 at the time. And my doctor was asking me about history of different diseases, and cancer came up. And I had mistakenly told my doctor that my dad had had prostate cancer.
Okay.
And that was an error, because when I later talked to my dad about it, he was like, "No, I never had prostate cancer." He had an enlarged prostate. And
Okay.
so, but thank God I made that mistake, because
Right.
otherwise they wouldn't have tested me. And so, um, I didn't even know that she was testing me for prostate cancer. She just had asked me the questions, and
Hmm.
and took a blood test to check my PSA levels.
Hmm.
And at that time, I had no idea what a PSA was. And so much so that after the results came back, she called me, and I ignored her phone call, because she said, "Your PSA levels are irregular." And I didn't even know what she was talking about. And I just, for a couple of weeks, I ignored her call. And then when I finally called her back, she told me that she was concerned that my elevated PSA could mean that I had prostate cancer.
Hmm.
But even given that, I still didn't think that that was going to be my reality, because
Right,
so
because
many,
you had no symptoms, you had nothing
none
going
of
on.
that, no symptoms at all. And many men, particular as they get older, have elevated PSAs and they don't have cancer. So I just didn't think that that was going to happen. And then on August 5th, 2015, my doctor called me, and he didn't say that you have cancer. What he said was, "We need to talk about your options."
Okay. Options for
I'm like,
what?
"Options?" And so and you know how when you get a call and you can just feel the person's energy, and you just know that it's not going to be a good conversation. I felt that even before he said anything. And so he and I said, "Okay." And so it was probably 2 or 3 days later that I went in to see him. He wanted me to come in so that we could, act quickly, as he said. And I'm like, "Well, act quickly, And it's so interesting, because I never thought cancer would knock on my door. Although the same year I was diagnosed, two of my good friends had died of cancer.
Okay.
One was significantly younger than I am, and then the other one was about my age. But I still just didn't think that it would come.
To you.
Yeah, I just didn't think it. And so when it happened, I was I was numb.
Mm.
It felt surreal. I'm like, I just couldn't believe that I was going through this. But one of the things that happened, the same week that I was diagnosed with prostate cancer, I was scheduled to give a talk to a nonprofit in Atlanta that I almost canceled. But I went anyway. And during my talk, I shared with them that, I had almost canceled coming, but I wanted to honor my commitment. And during my talk, I told them that been diagnosed with cancer. And there was a young woman that was in the audience who was an herbalist, who came up to me after I spoke and asked me, had I ever heard of black seed oil? I'm like, "No, what is that?" And she said that it was something that she recommended to her patients who had had a cancer diagnosis. And she said that she had very good outcomes with her patients who had used it, and she recommended that I started taking it immediately, 3 times a day. And I told her, well, I was scheduled to have surgery, where they were going to see if they were going to put some radioactive seeds, about 125 radioactive seeds, into the prostate to see if that would kill the cancer. But she suggested that I start taking it immediately, even before the surgery, because with any kind of surgery, you just don't know if it's going to work or if it's going to help, And so I did as she said. I didn't, again, didn't know anything about the product, but just started taking it. And I have to say, when you have a diagnosis of prostate cancer, there's a lot of side effects that come along with it, like incontinence and erectile dysfunction, things that we as men don't like to talk about, but these are things that are often connected to that diagnosis. And the first couple of years after my initial surgery and I was taking the black seed, I had none of those symptoms. And it was only when I stopped taking the black seed oil, and I did like so many of us, you take a supplement and you don't really know what it's doing to your body, particularly if you've been taking it a while. And I ran out and I just stopped taking that supplement. And then what happened with me was I started 2 years after I had had my initial surgery, I started having all of the side effects. I started having incontinence. I had erectile dysfunction. I was wearing Depends. I had to wear Depends because I couldn't control my bladder. But those are things that are often associated with it. And I couldn't figure out what had happened, because for 2 years after the surgery, I was fine. And then all of a sudden, I started having these side effects. And then one of the things that I remembered that I did before was like, wait a minute, why? One of the things that I stopped doing was taking the black seed oil. And so I resumed taking it. And probably about a month after I started taking it again, everything went back to normal. Everything.
So that's interesting. So let's backtrack a little bit. You had the surgery, and then pretty much you were cleared at that point with a good diagnosis, no more cancer, or
No. It was 6 months after the surgery.
okay.
Because they didn't know. They didn't know they needed time to see if those radioactive seeds would work.
Mm-hmm.
Because for some patients they work, some they don't. So they didn't know if I was cancer free until 6 months after the surgery.
Okay. And throughout this time, you kept taking the black seed oil.
I kept taking the black seed oil, and I started changing my diet because I started doing my research.
Mm-hmm.
And as I started doing my research, because I was trying to figure out, how did this happen to me? Mm-hmm. And again, one of the things that I found was that all the things that I used to enjoy eating, there was correlation between prostate cancer and, for example, ice cream. I could eat a gallon of ice cream in a day. A gallon, in a day. And I loved eating cheese. I mean, I could eat cheese by itself. Those things, there's strong correlations between cancer and those things alone. And then I used to eat a lot of chicken, a lot of beef. And what I discovered is all these hormones, not so much the meat that's bad, it's all of the hormones and the things that they put in it. And I did not know this about milk. So because there's such a demand for milk, they have to keep the cows pregnant. And so the cows being, pregnant over and over again causes them to have blood and pus in the milk. Mm-hmm. And the government allows a certain percentage of that's acceptable in the milk that people actually consume. And
that's something that is so mind-blowing to me. There is a level of pus
right
that is okay,
right
drink.
And I'm like, wait a minute, I'm like, how that just, I mean, first I was disgusted by it, and the fact that it's allowed to me was just mind-blowing, because when I grew up, we were taught that milk does the body good. And I'm like, that was a great marketing strategy, but it was not the truth. It was not the truth.
Yeah, and there's a lot, that we discover, that science has discovered that it's not necessarily common knowledge, but it is
Right,
out there. It is out there in research. And yes, if you have, sometimes, unfortunately, it does take like a diagnosis. It does take
right,
something that says, okay, hold on, what is going on?
right,
What is going on with me? Why do I have this diagnosis? And then doing the research helps us to see and understand, okay, ah, this is what I've been doing, which I thought, you do the best that you can, the best that you know how in any
right.
situation. But there comes a point where you can actually learn, research, and change, decide to make a change. So in your case, as you were researching, you research, I'm assuming, also about black seed oil and what it does.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And one of the things that I discovered is that cancer cells love inflammation and they thrive in mucus. And one of the things that black seed oil does is it helps to reduce inflammation in our bodies and release mucus because we're exposed to so many toxins, not only in our foods, but in the air, on a lot of the products that we put on our bodies. There are a lot of toxins that we all are exposed to, and our body does not have a way to eliminate it all. And so that's one of the things that I discovered that the black seed oil, was helpful for, is just kind of releasing a lot of the inflammation that's in our bodies. And if you're eating cheese and sugar and meat, you got some inflammation in your body for sure.
Right, right. Yeah, and it says stress is causes inflammation. When you think about stress, it's not just working in a stressful environment or being busy all the time. The What we eat actually stresses our environment, stress our body, stresses our cells, put pressure, inflammation, and causes our organs, our hormones, and all that stuff to act in ways that is just, they are stressed. They don't
Right.
know what to do. And so, yeah, sometimes it results in just different chronic diseases. But in your case, it was cancer,
Can
prostate cancer.
Right. And you make a good point about stress. That's why, one of the things that I incorporate into my own health regimen is juice cleansing and fasting to give our bodies a break because when we're consuming a lot of food, our body is using that energy to just process the food, and it doesn't have enough energy to do the healing work that our bodies are designed to do. And so that's what makes fasting and juicing so important because it gives your body a rest. It's to not have all that stress put on the body of it having to process all the foods that we eat. But also, another point that you mentioned too is about the stress that so many of us deal with, and not necessarily even about our jobs, but a lot of us, have childhood trauma that we are living with, um, and that creates a high level of stress. For me, I mentioned how growing up in the hood, I never felt like I was enough. Even though I had this successful business, there were times in my life where I felt like an imposter, didn't feel like I was worthy of the success. And a lot of that had to do with, childhood trauma, and not feeling worthy and not feeling like I was enough. And that creates a lot of stress, as well for us.
So was that part of your healing process to realize that you were enough, and did that help you throughout the course of the years? And then how did you decide to share that message with others?
Right. Well, for me, I always, even from when I was very young, just has always been someone that worried a lot, just worried about everything, just worried about what was to come, worried about what was happening, just worry, worry, worry. And, worry is, it will wear you out and it will cause you to, have a lot of doubt, a lot of fear and anxiety. When I was in college, I think I was probably about 19, I started having panic attacks and anxiety attacks. So when I was in college, I didn't feel like, I could do the work. I felt overwhelmed, and I just was always stressed. And for me, I normalized that stress. I just took it as that's just the way it is. This is just how you're gonna feel. And so after my cancer diagnosis, I started just reevaluating things and realizing that all of the stuff that I was making important wasn't important. Worrying about stuff that I couldn't control wasn't important. That was out of my hands. And learning just to relax and allow things just to be. You know, there's some things that you can't control. If you can control it, work on it. If you can't control it, you got to let it go. And I had to learn how to do that because I was always trying to control everything, which totally stressed me out. And when things didn't go the way I wanted them to go, then I would just be messed up. And what I've learned in life is that I've never not made it. You know, sometimes we may go through difficult periods in life and we feel like, oh my God, this is going to take us out, or this is something that I can't handle. But what I realized in my 53 years of living is that all things truly do work together for you. You know, even if it doesn't work out the way you want it to, it works out, you know, for your good in the end. And so that began a journey for me in terms of my own emotional healing and giving myself a break and forgiving myself for all the mistakes that I made and all the mistakes I continue to make, because I think sometimes we are
Yeah.
so hard on ourselves because we're striving for this level or this perfection that's not realistic, you know. And I always tell people, my thing is not to strive for perfection, but to strive for progression, just to get a little better than I was yesterday, just
I
to be
like
a little
that.
better.
I like that. Not perfection, but progression.
Progression,
That's
yes.
really good. And so you started doing, that emotional healing,
Right.
and that also. So sometimes we think, well, I just need that medication or that pill or whatever, and then it's gonna be okay. Just give me the prescription, just give me
Yeah.
the treatment, just give me the surgery, and it's true that I'm one that never tells people not to go to the doctor,
Right,
not to
right, right.
listen to the medical advice. There are different people on the spectrum, but it's important. We can see even through your story that getting checked, getting the diagnosis, doing, following the doctor's advice, and also doing the research and then doing the work on yourself to help facilitate the healing. And so you had to work on the emotional aspect. You
Right,
had to understand that you are enough, and you
right.
had to heal from that. And then also changing your diet. And I'm going to try to put a picture of your juicing book also. And
Mhm.
then changing your diet, juicing, more vegetables, and also getting a supplement that has been known to help with healing, fostering the healing of cancer. So there are different aspects and different layers of healing, in
Mhm.
any situation, any circumstance. Very good, very
Yeah,
good.
and taking a holistic approach, because it's just not about what you put in your body, it's about what's going on in your head and in your heart.
Yeah, that's really good. Tell us about, let me see. Why is my picture not coming up? Well, tell us about first, because you have before we talk more about black seed oil, you have a juicing challenge coming up. Tell us
Yes.
what you've been doing for yourself, juicing, how it has affected you, how often do you juice, all these things. And then let's talk about your challenge coming up.
Yeah. So, for the past 5 years, I've been juicing um, kind of regularly. But what happened when the pandemic first hit in March, I got a little nervous because I work out every day at the gym. So when the gym shut down, I
Uh-huh.
got worried because I gain weight very easily. I can smell food and gain weight. And so I got and I know I enjoy snacking. And so I decided that I needed to figure out what to do, during this pandemic where the gyms are closed, we all are stuck at home. How am I going to prevent myself from gaining a large amount of weight? Because I can gain weight really easy. And so one of the things I decided to do that I had never done before, I decided to do a juice cleanse. And initially it was going to be for 21 days. And I didn't know if I could do it. I had never done a juice cleanse, and I'm so used to chewing food and stuff. And so I'm like, I don't know if I can do this, but I'm going to try. And so I ended up starting the juice cleanse. And after the first week, I started to feel really, really good. I started to feel a lot of clarity. I started to feel energized, and I started to release some weight because I had put on a few pounds even before the pandemic. I had put on like 14 pounds before the pandemic, and so uh, I started to lose weight. And then at the end, after the 21 days, I had lost maybe close to 20 pounds, but I was feeling so good that I decided to extend my juice cleanse to 30 days. And so I ended up going 30 days on a juice cleanse, nothing but juice and water. And I ended up losing, I think, a total of 26 pounds during that time.
So 26 pounds in 30 days?
Yeah.
Wow.
And the real benefit for me, again, was it helped me to reset my eating habits, because I just like, generally I used to just snack all the time. If I was bored, I would snack. If I was working on, I would just snack, which is not good. And so what the cleanse did for me was it allowed me to reset my eating habits, and it allowed me to release the weight, but it also gave me a lot of clarity. I was getting a lot of insight, a lot of just new inspiration during that 30-day period. And it felt so good that after 30 days, I really didn't want to quit, but I did because I had lost too much weight. Because I'm normally like 210.
Okay.
And I had gotten up to 224 when I started the juice cleanse. But after the 30 days, I was like 198 pounds. And
Thank God that wasn't.
I'm 6 feet. So that was pretty light for me. And I was like, okay, I need to end this. But
Okay. Okay.
but then I started sharing with people, my experience and what I had learned and the outcome, and people were interested, and wanted to learn more. And so a couple of months ago, I did a 10-day juice cleanse, and I opened it up to everyone. Uh, right after the release of my book, Juicing 101, and the results and the feedback from the people who participated was amazing. One lady in 10 days lost 9 pounds, another one lost 8 pounds. But one of the common messages that I was hearing from people who participated in the fast is how great they felt and how much energy they had. And it's amazing when you give your body, um, allow your body to rest, and you're fueling your body with the nutrients that it needs, that your energy level just goes it just goes off the roof. And one of the things that I learned is that most of us don't eat enough fruits and vegetables. There was a study that shared that 1 in 10 individuals, only 1 in 10 individuals eat the recommended amount of fruits and vegetables every day. Only one in
Wow.
10. So if we're not fueling our body with the proper nutrients that it needs to heal and do the work, we're going to be susceptible to all kind of illness and ailments.
Right. That's amazing. Yes, if you have any questions about juicing, go ahead, put your questions in the comments, and we can make sure that Harold know about them and answers them. So you wrote that book, and it's full of, you have 100, how many recipes do you
We
have?
have like over 50 recipes in the book.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, and other strategies on how to lose weight, how different supplements, because I've found for me, supplements have been really important. Not only do I take black seed oil, but I also take sea moss daily. Sea moss
Mhm.
has 92 of the minerals, 92 of the 102 minerals that our body needs every day. So I take that as well. I eliminated caffeine from my diet because after I had had cancer, 2 years after that, I ended up having a TSI, which is a mini stroke. And is it TSI? TS? I think it is TSI, but it was a mini stroke. And at the time, I was drinking a lot of coffee, a lot of caffeine, and didn't realize, the negative impact that caffeine has on the body. So talk about that in the book as well. And one of the things that I discovered too, when I was writing the book and doing my research, what I didn't know is that only 20% of the medical schools require that doctors take a single, just one class in nutrition. So the fact is, we're talking with our doctors about health and well-being. Well, most of them have not been trained in nutrition, the value of nutrition. All they know is to prescribe pills and to do surgery, because they just don't have that education. And that's why it's so important that we educate ourselves and get the information for ourselves so that we can make empowered decisions.
That's very true. That's something that, I tell people when you, whenever you start, say, always consult with your doctor before starting any kind of, help juicing or
Right.
detox or anything like that. And I tell them to ask and say, don't ask them, should I do this?
Right.
Just ask them, is there any reason, any contraindication? Will this
Right.
hurt me in any way, considering my medications or my health? And if they say, well, I don't see why, I don't think there's anything, then just go ahead and do it.
Right.
Because sometimes, they don't know themselves,
They don't.
They don't. They just haven't. And so it's not against them, but it's sometimes asking the right question. When you say, well, my doctor said this is not going to help. Say, okay, he said it's not going to help, but is it going to hurt?
Right.
Is there anything in these juices that you should not use? For example, some people take a medication and a grapefruit interacts with it, but don't, so things like that. But if not, just go ahead and try it,
Right.
Anything can help. I do have some questions for you. Okay. So Frederick said, do you work out while you're juicing, or did that affect your workout in any way? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So when I did my first juice cleanse, 30-day juice cleanse, the gyms were closed, and so the only thing I did walk daily. I did walk for like 30 minutes to an hour, and I recommend people who are doing a juice cleanse that you can work out during your cleanse, but light workouts. So yoga, walks, or light resistance training is fine, but nothing strenuous, because you don't want to put a lot of stress on the body, because that's going to trigger you to want to eat solid foods.
Yes, that's true, because you need even more energy. So light workout when you're juicing. Mm-hmm. And so you have some of those advice in your juicing 101
in the book. Yeah.
Perfect. Mm-hmm. So that's his book here, guys, Juicing 101. And then is it hard copy, download? Is it an ebook?
Yeah, so it's a paperback and an ebook as well.
Okay.
So you can download it.
And you're going to put all of that information. We're going to make sure that everybody has that information on your Juicing 101 book. Now, I want to go back to cancer.
Okay.
To cancer and black seed oil, because, so we said you did the surgery. Mm-hmm. And you had those radioactive seeds going on that did help, and mm-hmm. then you did the emotional and mental healing that also helped. Absolutely. And then you took black seed oil that also helped. And so there was a point where you realized that black seed oil was helping maybe more than you realized. So tell us a little bit more about that. You mentioned it a little bit, that there are some depends involved.
Right. Yeah. So the first 2 years after I started taking the black seed oil, everything was fine, and I just assumed that I didn't know if it was the surgery, the pills, the change in. I didn't know. I didn't know what was working, because I had started to make these different changes in my life. But then there was a period after 2 years. I had been cancer free for 2 years. I started to not be as diligent about my what I was doing, and so I ran out of black seed oil, and I stopped taking it for like a month and didn't think anything of it. And it was during that time when I stopped taking it that I started having all these side effects. And what happened, the first thing that happened for me, I woke up in the morning and my bed was wet. Now, I have a dog and a cat, and they sleep in the bed with me sometimes. And I thought they had an accident in my bed. And then I realized it wasn't them, it was me. And I'm like, what is this? And I thought, okay, maybe this is just an aberration. And so the next morning it happened again. And so I went to see my doctor, and he said, well, yeah, that's the typical side effect. I'm like, but it's been 2 years. He's like, but sometimes that happens. And he wanted to prescribe some medication. And I, I, if I don't like taking any medication, if there's any kind of alternatives, because so many of the medications have side effects and toxins in them. And I was like, he gave me a prescription, but I never filled the prescription. And that's when I decided to kind of think back, what was I doing before all this happened? And it was during that same time that I ended up having, like I said before, a mini stroke. Now, before, I had never had issues with blood pressure or anything like that. And one of the things that black seed helps too, it helps with your blood pressure. And so it was after I had the stroke, actually, because all this happened around the same time. The incontinence and the stroke all happened around within probably a 30-day period. And that's when I realized, okay, let me go back to the stuff that I had been doing before and see if that would help. And so I started taking the black seed oil again. And after about 3-4 weeks, everything went back to normal. My blood pressure, I didn't have to wear the Depends, anymore, because I thought this was going to be my new reality forever. And
I watched one of your videos. You say you went to get the best looking Depends you could get.
Oh yeah, it took me a minute to go to the store to buy them, and then when I finally went, I realized they had Depends in different colors, because my thing is, wherever you are, just embrace your reality. And so I got me some colored Depends, to make them look cool. But
Right.
fortunately, I didn't have to wear them,
For too long,
for too
right?
long. Yeah,
That's good. I like what you said, the wherever you are, embrace your reality. I mean, if
yeah.
that's what you have to do,
If
that's
that's
what
what you
you
have
have
to
to
do,
do,
you're right.
you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
And embrace your reality while you look for ways to improve it, and be willing to try things, and and not just, for me, just taking a pill for everything just was not the answer, because it was not getting to the root cause of the problem. Pills just help to just cover up what are the underlying, what else is going on. There's something else that's causing this. And so,
right. You don't want just to cover the symptoms and never
right,
really fix the actual
right,
problem. So,
right,
and that's another advice that I like to give. It's like, again, if you have to take the medication
right,
in the sense that, for example, you have the high blood pressure and it needs
right,
to come down,
right, right,
quickly.
right,
You
right.
have to take the medication.
Absolutely.
In your case, it's kind of for incontinence. Well, you can decide not to, or not, or fill that prescription. It's a little
Right.
bit different. So something life-threatening,
Like,
you
yeah,
take the action, the medical action, but also in the process, look into, okay, what else can I do? What is this a sign of? And then what can I improve on? What can I change? What can I add to my
right.
lifestyle? So
Mhm,
tell us about, okay, what is, because we talked about black seed oil.
mhm,
What is it? Where does it come from? What
mhm.
is that?
It comes from places, Africa, India, the Middle East, and it's a seed, and they squeeze the oil out of the seed. And not all black seed oil are the same. There are many on the market, and it has an ingredient called thymoquin. And the thymoquin is really the active ingredient that does the healing work. And
Okay.
when I started my company, because earlier this year I started my company, Good Living Now, and to offer the black seed oil, because I wanted to educate people on the benefits of black seed oil, but I also wanted to offer a product that I knew was a quality product. Because if you look at, a lot of people think all black seed oils are the same, and they're not. And one of the things that you want to pay attention to is the thymoquin, or the TQ, on the label of the package. Most of them that are on the market have probably about 1% or less TQ in them. Our product has 3.38, so it has 3 times the TQ that the average black seed oil on the market has, and so that's really important. But it's so important for folks who have high blood pressure, folks that are dealing with a cancer diagnosis, dealing with diabetes, uh, dealing with arthritis, to eliminate the inflammation in your body. And people who have arthritis, it's inflammation in your joints that's causing the pain. And so, so many benefits for black seed oil. And it really has been life-changing for me.
Right, because once you started taking in again, and those effects were reversed pretty much
Right.
right away within a few days or a month,
Well,
or
about a month. About a month after I started taking it, about a month. Um, and one of the things that a lot of people who take the black seed oil also say is that they notice improvement in their sleep. They have better, much more restful sleep. And why that's important is because our body heals when we're at rest, So if you are not getting, good sleep, proper sleep, it's difficult for your body to do the healing work that it's designed to do.
right, that makes sense. Guys, if you have any questions about black seed oil, let us know. Is there anything, so for people who have cancer or
High
you said
blood
high blood
pressure,
pressure, I
diabetes,
read asthma also.
asthma, yeah. Hmm.
Yeah. Any other ailment that you know of that has black seed oil has been useful for?
Diabetes. If you have, again, aches and pains, it's really good for
Okay.
that because that's all inflammation.
Right. So anything, so because it reduces inflammation
Hmm.
altogether. So
Hmm.
so anything that is linked to inflammation, which is just about any
Right, right.
any ailment. But when you think about it, though, pain. If you have chronic pain or different things, of course, again, looking at the diet, but also there are different options, and I like when I coming on and just presenting people with just different options, different things that they can do and look into and try for themselves, read up for themselves. And so do you have some information on your website about black seed oil and about
Oh
your
yeah.
product?
Oh yeah, yeah. So we have information on black seed oil. One of the things that I talk about a lot too is the fact that pain is information. If you're having pain in your body, that's information, and so we have a lot of um, testimonials and a lot of information on the site, and the website is thegoodlivingnow.com.
Okay,
Thegoodlivingnow.
thegoodlivingnow.com.
Mhm.
And that's the brand also for, I put a picture earlier, let me see. That's the brand of the oil, Good Living
Mhm.
Now. And
Mhm.
so thegoodlivingnow.com, and
Mhm.
you have the information about the oil on there.
Mhm.
Where do we find the information about your juicing program?
It's also on the website. Yeah, and so if people are interested in registering for it's free. It's a free challenge. Again, it starts October 23rd. If you go to the website, you'll see a link there to register. And it's important to register because what we're going to be doing over the 10 days of the challenge, every day you'll get videos, you'll get juice recipes, and you'll get tips on how to make your juice cleanse successful.
Wonderful, wonderful. I have some, one of the viewers said black seed oil is amazing for your health. So she agrees with you.
Yeah.
So that's good.
Oh, and I
So,
forgot to mention though, it's also
yeah,
good topically. I also put it on my face. So
you
if it's
do?
good for people who have hair loss, like my eyebrows sometimes get thin. And so when they get thin, I'll put some of the black seed oil on it topically. So you can put on your face if you have any skin issues. I forget the it was a skin condition, the back of my ear, I forget what it's called. Um, I forgot what it's called, but it helped to clear that up. So you
Mhm.
can also apply it topically to your hair and your skin.
Oh, nice. So I can buy the capsules and just kind of open
Yeah,
it
you
up
can buy the capsules and open them up, and
Mm-hmm.
and put the,
Nice. Okay, I might have to try that for my skin because I have to wear the mask all day, and so I have this max knee going now. So I have makeup now, but it's not, some days it's just not so fun. So I might have to try it on my skin also. But of course, if you ingest it, it helps your skin. And then
Absolutely.
adding the extra topically putting it on your skin, that can
Mhm.
also help. That's good.
Right.
So a lot of advice, guys. I don't know if anybody else has other questions, but tell us anything else that you want to share with us. Anything else that you want to share that we didn't touch on.
Well, just again, the fact that if you're experiencing any kind of pain in your body, it's just information, and not to be afraid of the pain, because there's always something we can do or you can do to help improve your health. Getting a diagnosis, a cancer diagnosis, a diagnosis of diabetes, or any other lupus. None of those are a death sentence. No, none of those are the end of your journey. There are things we can do to heal our body, but it's not just an appeal. It's a holistic approach. It's mind, body, and soul. And so, you know, you can get better. You can get better, um, and just getting new information, and having the courage to make lifestyle changes is really important, because it's difficult for us oftentimes to make changes in our lifestyle, particularly when maybe our family and friends are eating the traditional American diet. And so much of our socialization is around eating. And if are eating a more plant-based diet, your socialization becomes a bit trickier.
Right, because you're kind of the odd
Oddball.
oddball in the in the group.
Right,
Oh, he doesn't eat that anymore. He doesn't do
right.
this or that, and it's true. But one thing that I've noticed is that they're observing. And
People are
slowly
watching,
but
and
surely.
when they
Yeah.
see your change, people don't like to be
Yes.
told what to
Exactly.
do, but just live out your life, and they see the changes in what's going on with you. People will start to pick up and start making their own adjustments, once they
That's
see
true.
the positive impact that the changes are happening in your life.
That's true. That's very true. Sometimes, they don't want to be told or preached on or say
Right,
what you're doing is bad or
right,
but just living your truth, living your by example, showing, just being authentic.
right.
It help because it's going to have results anyway. I anywhere that you want to start tackling. I've heard stories of people in remission. They heal the emotional and it helped, but somehow, once you start healing one aspect, you just kind of keep digging and realize, okay, so now I've worked on this and I want to work on that. And it's
Right.
kind of like this journey of self-improvement. Sometimes it takes a diagnosis, but it doesn't have to either,
It doesn't. Right,
it doesn't have to. You can just decide to start making changes little by little. So
right,
either way, there is hope out there. There is hope
right.
out there. So tell us about, somebody asked, um, about your website, because it is unfortunately the hour is over.
Oh, okay.
But I want to make sure you tell us about the website, and we're going to make sure, guys, I will post everything, the website, so you can get the black seed supplement, which
Mm-hmm.
is more concentrated than some out there. So
Three
it's high
times. Yeah, three
quality, three
times.
times higher, so higher
Mm-hmm.
quality product.
Mm-hmm.
And you can download the ebook.
There's the ebook and the paperback, and
Mhm.
then my other books are on there as well.
Okay, good.
My book I Am Enough is on there,
Yes.
and it's and it has daily. It's 90 days of spiritual nuggets to embrace
Nice.
your authentic self, and that's so important because so often we want to change and don't know how, and
Mhm.
change doesn't happen overnight.
No,
It happens as we unlearn old self-defeating thoughts and patterns, and we replace them with new life-affirming information. And so that's what the book I Am Enough does. And we also have t-shirts and hoodies, because sometimes you just need to remind yourself of that, particularly when you're going through difficult uh, life changes, as we all are during this pandemic, you have to remind yourself as life is changing that you are enough to get through whatever you're going through.
Right, that's true. I have somebody who just said that they experience chronic pain, and since they've taken black seed oil, they've noticed a major difference in their everyday activities. So that's a testimonial right there that it does work, along with, along with what we talked about, emotional healing, along with changing your diet.
Diet.
So thegoodlivingnow.com is your website. Okay. And we can also get the shirt there.
Shirts and hoodies. You can get your hoodie.
Awesome. And just follow him. I mean, follow him on. Are you on Instagram and
Instagram?
Facebook?
Harold Leffall on Instagram.
Yeah, because you like I said, that's how I connected with you. Just seeing you daily, literally, living your truth, and posting about juicing, posting about just different tips, and talking to people, your work, your workout, pre-post, different things that you've been putting out there, putting the right energy out. So I thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, it was. I really enjoyed it, and I'm glad that just in the conversation we had several people that have experienced black seed oil. So I'm going to see about getting some. And thank you for teaching me, because, like I said, I was messaging you, so I have no clue what black seed oil is, and do I have to keep taking this and stuff. But just from your experience, it does show that sometimes there's something that you're doing for yourself that is right and is having an effect. And when you stop or you remove it, it actually affects you negatively.
Adversely,
your body needs, your body needs certain things, and it's going to let you know. So
right.
It lets you know in an odd way. And thank you for sharing that, because that's uncomfortable for a lot of men to even mention those kind of things. And so thank you for being transparent, and thank you for coming on. Any last word? Anything else?
No, well, here's what I always tell people: you deserve to be healthy. You deserve to be healthy.
That's good. That's how we're going to end. You deserve to be healthy. Thank you, Harold, for coming on. We will have all of his information on below in the comments. And you guys, you deserve to be healthy, and take care.